Welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got 12 stories of people exposing their family members for being absolute Karens. Let's jump into it. I am a nephew of a Karen, was visiting her, and she needed to stop by a Walgreens. She had a newspaper ad that stated some candles were 50% off, so she bought like 10 of them. She got charged full price and flipped out. We're talking like paying $1 per candle instead of 50 cents. The cashier and I both showed her that she was holding an old newspaper and that the offer expired a week ago. She then shifted to, "Well, you could have told me more nicely," and kept complaining. I just kept telling her we needed to leave. Once I finally got her out into the car, I said I had forgotten to grab a pack of gum. I went back in and apologized to the poor guy. Question number one: who needs to buy 10 candles all at once? Second question: if these candles were 50% off in the newspaper ad, you'd think that would have also been verifiable while they were shopping around the store. You telling me that this store sold a whole bunch of different candles and none of them were marked 50% off in the aisle? So, what exactly did she think was going to happen when she got up to the checkout? This was decades ago, but my mother used to sneak back to our table and adjust whatever tip my dad or myself would leave. Hint: it was never adjusted upwards. That's just horrible. I don't know why you would do that. And I would love to know exactly how much she adjusted, because you're telling me she probably got $5 out of the deal. What is she going to do with that $5? We went to some hotel one night for dinner. The hotel had a pool that was clearly only for hotel guests, as was indicated by dozens of signs surrounding the pool. My mother told my little brother and I we were allowed to use the pool and even had us wear our bathing suits under our clothing so we could easily get changed after dinner. Well, they clearly have employees monitoring this, and not long after we jumped in the water, security calmly walked over and asked to see our hotel room keys. Since we weren't staying there and didn't have room keys, we were politely asked to leave. My mother refuses and insists we were within our rights because we ate dinner there. A screaming match ensues, hundreds of people are staring at us, and finally, the head of security had to escort us off the property before the police were called. That just seems a bit odd to me. Why would you want to go out to dinner and then go swimming at a place that you weren't even staying at? We really trying to get our money's worth there, Karen? My dad once got banned from a Ford dealership, the only place that his car insurance covered the 3-year late oil change he needed, because they had a vending machine that sold Arizona tea for $1.25, while the can said 99 cents. He didn't even buy it or want to. He was screaming at the front desk people because of it. The vending machine wasn't owned by Ford, and they were most certainly not in control of the prices. I have no idea what he hoped to gain out of the ordeal. Yeah, it truly sounds like he got his money's worth already, considering he was able to get his car insurance to cover a 3-year late oil change. Still trying to make sense out of that one. But as far as the Arizona tea goes, I can understand being upset about it, but if you didn't purchase it and you had no interest in purchasing it, what exactly were you trying to get out of it? My mom attempting to change my sister's diaper on the table in a crowded restaurant, going ballistic when the waitress asked her to use the restroom, then having me change her while she argued with the entire restaurant. That's just kind of nasty. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to change diapers in funny places, but in the middle of a crowded restaurant is the last place that I would want to change my daughter's diaper, especially when there is a bathroom available that probably has a changing table. A worst case scenario, if there isn't a changing table available, then go out to the car and change the diaper. Why? Why on earth would you want to change a diaper in the middle of a crowded restaurant? Nobody wants to see that. We were having a family dinner where we just decided to order in Chinese food. With around 15 people eating, it was quite a large order. One of the things we ordered were honey garlic chicken balls, which we got 2 orders of. The restaurant delivers these as an order of breaded chicken balls with a side of honey garlic sauce. My dad went to pick up the food, brought it back home, and we noticed that we got 2 orders of the breaded chicken balls, but only 1 honey garlic sauce. Now, I get it. This is mildly annoying, but hey, it happens. And we still have tons and tons of food, plus a single order of sauce is likely enough for 2 orders of chicken anyway. My mom was essentially sent into a bloodlust because of this. She was very annoyed we didn't get the second sauce. And while people were starting to sit down and help themselves to the food, she got on the phone with the restaurant. While I'm sure the restaurant staff was apologizing, she kept insisting that it was BS and that she expects to get everything she paid for, and that the restaurant had to rectify this. She argued back and forth while everyone else ate, but eventually got the restaurant to send a delivery driver with just the order of sauce. She, of course, sat down to eat after this, and just about everyone was already done. Of course, by the time the sauce got there, everyone had finished eating, and it wasn't really missed. She felt so proud of herself getting the restaurant to go to ridiculous lengths over such a trivial thing. While I can certainly understand the frustration of not getting everything that you paid for, we're literally talking about 50 cents worth of sauce here, and clearly it wasn't missed. But I'm glad she felt proud of herself for this. When I was about 9, my dad took my sister and I to McDonald's one evening. At this point, he and my mom were separated, so he only saw us once a week, and those visits gradually petered out to my relief. He ordered a quarter pounder with cheese for himself, took one bite, and spat it out into the box. He then stormed up to the counter, ignored the line of people waiting to order, and started loudly berating the woman at the register who hadn't even taken his order in the first place. He screamed, "I asked for a goddamn quarter pounder without cheese. Why the hell have you put cheese on my burger? You clearly don't know how to do the most simple of tasks. I want to speak to your manager." And on it went. I felt such shame and humiliation, and I couldn't even finish my meal. If that wasn't bad enough, when he finally came back with a fresh meal, I told him in a timid voice that he had in fact ordered one with cheese, and he started screaming at me. Yeah, I wasn't exactly gutted when those little outings with my dad ended. I've never understood why people get so worked up in situations like that, especially when you're eating at the restaurant. Clearly, he was wrong, but if he had walked up nicely, they still would have taken care of him. And obviously, they felt obligated to help him out either way because, the customer is always right. But he didn't need to be a total jerk about it. And clearly, this was very off putting to his children who had to watch this whole thing unravel all over a slice of cheese that he technically asked for. My mom harassed my elementary school so much over small things and caused such a big fuss that they didn't let my niece, who they knew wasn't my mom's granddaughter, come back. They just didn't want to deal with her anymore, to the point of kicking my niece out of the school. Those poor teachers didn't get paid enough. That's honestly super sad that they decided to go to that length because they didn't want to deal with her. And I certainly don't agree with them doing something like that, but she had to have been a horrendous Karen for them to go to lengths like that. That's insane. We went to a Thai restaurant and they were severely understaffed because of COVID. So the food took around 30 minutes to come out. My food didn't come out for another 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes, he kept calling over waiters and asking when the food will come, and if it doesn't come soon, I'll give you a 1-star rating. It was pretty funny for me, but I also felt bad for those people working there. Yeah, and I certainly hope that they knew whose food that was because I hate to say that in the food industry, it's probably disgustingly common for people to mess with people's food when they're being a Karen. Not saying I agree with it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened in this situation. My mom is a Karen. Every time we go out to dinner with her, it's an absolute nightmare. Her fork is bent, the dish wasn't as spicy last time, the waitress doesn't address her first, her food is cold, the plate isn't hot, it's been too long since we've seen our server, even though she doesn't actually need anything. Each of these complaints are voiced arrogantly at the server and followed up with, "I was a waitress and we never had these issues." She was a part time waitress in the early 90s at a pizza joint. I can't eye roll hard enough. Again, I don't know why we're messing with the people who are responsible for either preparing our food or getting it from the kitchen to the table, but it's clearly super unnecessary. And just because Karen worked in a pizza joint in the 90s doesn't mean that she should be so overly critical about everything that happens in the restaurant experience. Sometimes you just have to realize that you are the problem. Unfortunately, these Karens don't seem to have the capacity to do so. We went to get my glasses changed. My mother had walked into the store 10 minutes before closing, and she was mad because they wouldn't check my eyesight. The whole time I was praying we wouldn't get kicked out. Who goes to the eye doctor 10 minutes before closing without an appointment and expects to get a full on eye exam? That seems just a wee bit far fetched there, Karen, doesn't it? Daughter in law of a Karen. One time she tipped $2 on a $100 bill because she didn't like how the fish was cooked. I got up and handed the waitress $20 and apologized. The waitress isn't even responsible for preparing the food. Why would you punish the waitress like that? That doesn't even make any sense. But clearly, very, very Karen like behavior to take it out on the wait staff because there is no way to take it out on the kitchen staff, clearly. Being related to a Karen is always kind of tough because you're just going to kind of sit there and be embarrassed about the whole thing, but you're probably not going to intervene until you finally reach your breaking point. Because unfortunately, you have to live with them or at least see them more often than the person that they are taking their wrath out on will ever see them. Which one of these Karen stories stood out the most for you? And if one of your family members is a Karen, I definitely want to hear about that in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, then definitely hit the subscribe button. That's all for this one. See you in the next one.